Hello. This is going to be a bit weird. I've got another channel which is Oh My Giddy Aunt. It's double H, O-double-H, where I've done 2 years worth of quite off the wall kind of tarot, oracle, and the maelstrom of my life. But if you can hear screaming and shouting down, it's the drug den downstairs. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a DOS house for drug dealers and their customers downstairs, which the council and people won't do anything about. I'm not going to get into that here, but if you hear them, there you go. Caring, sharing. Now, my question has always been, what is normal? What is normal? Well, there is no normal, is that? It's what's normal for you. What is your norm? A potted history of me and my life and how I've got to here and why I'm coming out of hermit mode. I was born in November 1971. I don't know, because I was told I was adopted last year by a narcissistic mother. So, and both my sisters were registered under different names in the birth register, so they're under Kingston Jones and Jones. So I don't even really know for sure what my name is. I'm relying on this vicious narcissist who lies for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I don't know if I'm her son. I don't know if my date of birth's right. She's come up with a different time of it recently, which would put me, I think, with a Scorpio rising rather than a Capricorn rising. Who knows? I've just got to muddle on with me. I know what's formed me and how I've made sense of things so far. Anybody into astro stuff, I've got a seal of Solomon in my chart, which I think helps you transmute negative energy, because you've got that hexagon. It's like hexagon healing. It's like very chariclo. And I've got 5 Sag placements in my 12th house. Okay. I've got Sun conjunct Neptune, slap bang opposite Saturn. That's 0 degrees Sun, 2 degrees Neptune, 13 degrees Jupiter, and then 23 degrees I've got Mercury conjunct Venus, and my Chiron's in Aries. Chariclo and my path fortune are in Pisces. I've got an Aquarius moon conjunct North Node, which I love. So if you think I'm a little bit detached for Sagittarius, it's my Aquarius North Node kicking in, which means, yeah, I'm like a dog off a lead, but I can do it logically. Balancing those two things, yeah, it's like, what's that all about then? It's very weird, but I love the Ariuses, and obviously having a seal of Solomon, I've got Sagittarius, I've got Aquarius, then I've got Aries with my thing, then I've got Gemini, and then Leo South Node, Libra, I've got Pluto, Uranus, Black Moon Lilith, and something else. I think is it Juno? So anyway, one of the lovely asteroids, and then back round to Sag. So that's that bit out the way. I'm an 8 of Wands, King of Wands, Temperance, with Mercury as my secondary planet, so I get the Magician. So that's me for you. I'm going to give this factually. I had a very privileged upbringing. I was fortunate to have that. I won a scholarship when I was about 6. It must have been 6, 7. And so I was always a year ahead of myself academically. and I went off to boarding school at the age of 8. So I led that very cotton wool lifestyle, and I should have stayed until I got the old boy's tie at 18. But I didn't. I'd had enough at 16, so I tipped it up. And actually, in my life, there's quite a few waterfall drops before they should have happened. A bit like the Fool card. I needed to do the Fool manoeuvre before Saturn or before Kronos said it was the best time to do it. That's when my Sag kicked in. So yes, I have done waterfall drops, literally walking away from everything I knew and starting again. But I'll be very honest, I've had HIV since the year 2000 and chronic fatigue syndrome, and I've fallen asleep on buses and trains and in parks. I've been mugged, I've been attacked, I've had things stolen from me. So I'm a lot warier now of going further than I know I can get home from. That's energetically and obviously and financially, but I was always, it always felt like a family of 4 plus me, which is why I don't know if my elder sisters are from my mother and I'm from a dalliance that my father had, and she was forced to say that I was her son. I'm not sure, I don't know. I'll go into that another time. But I've always, I think that's where the Aquarius moon kicked in, because I've always been able to cope with being an outsider, and I do love it. I don't want to say lonely, you feel being alone, you know, on my own, by myself with nobody else. you do feel it from time to time, but there have been very few periods in my life when I've actually felt lonely, and I really appreciate whatever I'm made up of, that's the case. And I don't really feel the need, a bit Aquarius-y, I don't feel the need to fit in. I couldn't give 2 sticks, but if that club doesn't want me, I'll go and make my own club over there. So that's very much Aquarius and Sagittarius working together there. Well, I'll make my own club. You know, build it and they'll come kind of attitude. I'm not, at boarding school, I was forced to get confirmed, really, because if you didn't, you were sort of looked at as untermensch. And I don't think the age of 13 being sort of press ganged into religion was a very healthy thing. I learned a lot from it, but I walked away from it. But now I've returned to a faith in light and goodness and fairness and honesty and truth. I don't think I'll do a prayer religion ever again, because there's too many things. No, we don't want you in this club. And I've said before, I have problems with quite a few people who commit religion. But my faith is no more or no less than theirs. I'm just trying to find my way back out of hermit mode because of the violence and death threats and humiliation, abandonment, isolation, stuff like that my family and other agencies have pressed upon me. But no, I'm coming out, if you see what I mean. I'm done. Because I've got the confidence. It's not bravado, it's confidence now. And I can smell BS at 50 paces, and I will challenge. I've got no problem challenging people. And actually calling them out to their face that I think you just lied to me, didn't you? Do you want to think about that before you repeat it? I've got no problem doing that. Because if people are prepared to lie, they're taking a risk. And if you catch them out at it, well, why wouldn't you throw it back at them and go, you know, if you went to a store or a shop and somebody tried to give you a ropey bit of steak and charge you full price for it, well, that's not good enough. You'd sling it back at them, wouldn't you? Well, I feel the same way about how people talk to me. It's social interaction. It's a social transaction, like going to a butcher's would be a meat transaction. So again, I'm not here for popularity. I like the truth too much. So I was always taught to be very independent and resourceful, insightful, and you can only do so much of that by yourself, especially when your trust has been obliterated. It took me a lot to start asking for help instead of compromising and sort of cutting corners and diminishing myself. A potted history of what happened to me was, as I said, I went to boarding school from 8 till 16 and never really felt like part of the family. Then I squandered the year that I had in hand with the scholarship, and effed around for about 6 months. Then I found a BTEC business course, so I got a BTEC in business and finance. Then I went off to university for 4 years, which had study exchanges. One was in France, one was in Kutztown, Pennsylvania for 6 months. Fell in love with Toronto and that energy at Niagara Falls. Woof. And then came back, graduated 94, was in London until about 97. Then my father in Leeds said, do you want to come and work with me? So I went up there and I passed my financial exams, the stock market one first and the futures and options one afterwards. So then I started trading derivatives on commodities, then stock indices, and then foreign exchange and bonds. And then in October 2000, I discovered I was HIV positive. I still don't know how I got it because I was meticulously careful, because I had a scare in about 93, and I thought I will never put myself through that again. So it's still a mystery, and that's one of the times when the world changes, because if you just turn your wrists over and look at all that, look at the blue track marks, you can actually, at the beginning, think that's poison. You're poison, you're toxic, you're damaged goods. What have you done? You've messed, But the benefit to becoming HIV positive is that it can't happen again. That fear's gone. It's a bit like going from the 9 of swords to the 10 of swords. You think, okay, well, once you can get your head around that, you're well on the way. But it does open you up to opportunistic infections, and I got viral meningitis, which was possibly one of the worst experiences of my life. October 2003, and I've had chronic fatigue syndrome since. So my splintly, sparkly, gravity-defying 8 of Wands is often, it crashes because it's like an energy drain. So I wasn't able to work, but I did bits and pieces on the stock markets and currency markets and what have you, till about 2015, 2016, and then I thought, I can't do this anymore, because the chronic fatigue was getting so bad that obviously the markets move at certain times based on certain news, and there's a set diary schedule to that. Jean-Claude Trichet at the time makes his interest rate announcement at 1 o'clock on if I'm best will in the world, if I'm asleep, I'm asleep. So that was becoming too much of a struggle. Then I became more dependent on family, and I haven't worked in an office since 1997, so I don't really fit in to that that way. That's me. 8 of Wands, all that energy. I know I'm irritating sometimes. I know I'm too much. I'm very conscious of it. And sometimes I rein it in. Sometimes I think to it, I'm just going to keep here. I'm going to go up to the ceiling now. So, these these are the basics. I really have just had 4 years pretty much in hermit mode. I haven't seen family really for about 3 years because of stuff that they did to me. And I've had death threats from 3 different directions in this building, but the housing association won't move me, even though I've been on the urgent transfer list since 2007. But more of that another time. But you know, I've had my apartment broken into, I've been mugged, I had my head smashed on the pavement so hard I was knocked unconscious and woke up with concussion in the hospital. There's an awful, and I've had more stuff go on in the last 4 years than most people really would have to deal with in a lifetime and a half. But I'm not dead yet, and I'm coming back out because the option is staying cocooned away. My hopes, let's just say my hopes are now outweighing my fears, and I've dealt with an awful lot of fears, not my natural fears, but fears that were constructed for me by people who wanted to keep me stuck. I'll be very honest about that. And I've struggled. I really have struggled. And being very resourceful, I thought, well, okay, I'll tackle it myself. I don't know, I'll sort it out myself. And then when it wasn't really turning around in the way that I wanted, I did ask for help. I started learning to ask for help, but then charities and agencies that were supposed to help this said, oh no, you don't fit here, you can't do that, we don't want you. And I thought, well, I do actually tick all your boxes, but why are you turning me away? I've got a legitimate reason for asking for help, and you're saying no. Well, good for you then, I'll go and I've just learned to go somewhere else. A bit like Mary and Joseph, no room at the inn. Well, my donkey's got a bit too tired. So as I've dealt with an awful lot. I have been a hermit for 4 years. And when trust is obliterated, I say it's very difficult, because I've been let down and lied about by the police. And when you live in a country where you can't, it's not that you don't trust the police, the police have proven that you can't trust them, and authorities, and your member of parliament, and your local councillors, and your landlord, and your neighbours, and your family, and doctors. You have to really firm up your foundations in yourself to A, identify that it's not good enough, but B, to stand up and go, challenge it again, this is not good enough. Are you going to turn it around, or do I have to go somewhere else? Because I will be complaining about it, because this is substandard. And that, in a culture where it's getting more and more difficult to complain legitimately about things. I mean, I don't know how many emails I've sent where I don't know what the person sounds like or looks like. They're just emails down the black hole. And then they don't get back within the 3 days or 5 days that they have to, and you've got to chase it up. And I really am spinning about 85 oil tankers around my head at the moment. So without going further than 20 minutes, I'll wrap this up and say I would welcome any support or advice. I will consider what anybody says, as long as it's positive and clean, because I don't have all the answers. And as I say, I've been, since about 1997, I've been cocooned, and it's going to be daunting enough coming out of hermit mode. So if anybody can give me any positive pointers, I really would appreciate them. And getting to 50 subscribers means I don't have to record it and then upload it. I can just do lives, which makes things a lot easier and saves on the phone battery and time and resources. So I really would welcome support doing that. I do have a third channel, which is Healing Centaur, HealingCentaur, where I do tarot and oracle readings. So the history of all this is at Oh My Giddy Aunt. I'm just using that as a toxic evidence dump for now, because it's got the history, the energy's wrong on that. So this is going to be flapping butterfly wings, having de-gooing from the cocoon process, or the chrysalis process, as the caterpillar comes out, go, oh my lord, what are these things on my arms? So yeah, it's a product relaunch of me, really. I'm going to see how it goes. I hope it can give confidence and inspiration to other people who are feeling the same way or going through the same thing. They're not going to be long videos, they'll be short things, because people's interest doesn't go past about 5-10 minutes. Here we are at 20, just gone over. But obviously this is an introduction, and when I talk about hopes, fears and dreams, I'm going to be I'll talk about, first of all, I'll talk about the ones that can't be weaponized anymore. Obviously, because there are some dark people around. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much, and I do look forward to interacting with you. Take good care. All the best. And happy December. It's World AIDS Day today, so if you know anybody, give them a tinkle, make sure they're okay. Okay, wishing you lots of love.